Hi, my name is Wendy Hendrickson. First and foremost, I want to thank Jen and the Northwest Library for inviting the ALS Hope Foundation and myself to kind of give you a glimpse into the world of ALS. ALS is a very rare disease. There is currently only about 30,000 of us in the entire United States. Unfortunately, that number kind of stays stagnant because you have slow progressors that could last more than 2 to 5 years, but you also have fast progressing patients that could unfortunately pass in very few months after diagnosis. I'm going to give you a glimpse into my world so that you'll understand where the fire and passion comes for me to raise awareness and to do something about this. In April of 2021, I started showing atrophy in my hand. I went to my local doctor, my GP, and she immediately forwarded me to an orthopedic because she thought it was carpal tunnel. I went to that orthopedic doctor, and without any questions or circumstance or hoo-ha, he immediately took x-rays of my neck and told me there was something wrong with my neck. They did not do any different kind of testing to see if there could be something else wrong with me. They said that I presented as a compression injury, which would be someone that dove into a pool, a shallow pool. My vertebrae were actually compressed. I never dove into a pool. I never had a compression injury, but unbeknownst to me, and like most of us do, we listen to what our doctors tell us. So I had the cervical surgery. They replaced 3 discs. I now have rods and screws in my neck. And right afterwards, I felt great. Took me about 3 months and I started declining. I was becoming very lethargic. I started tremors. I was very, very fortunate that I had a good friend of mine, Tracy, who has a medical background. She watched my decline. One, I didn't even notice myself. By her perseverance, persistence, and she went after quite a few doctors, she finally got me in front of a neurologist at Einstein. So there is no test for ALS. There's nothing they can do to say definitively you have ALS. The progress in order to get a diagnosis for ALS is that they have to rule out every condition or disease that could mimic ALS. So it could be Lyme disease, it could be cancer, there's a myriad of things. So I went through the battery of testing and it all came down to an EMG test. The EMG test is a test that they do with needles and electric, and it measures how quickly the response time is from the pulse to reach from a certain area and back. My EMG results immediately came back that there was a huge deficiency. I was told that day that the doctor was about 50 to 75% sure I had ALS. You want to talk about a bombshell being dropped on you. I thought I had cancer. It ran in my family. ALS never even crossed my mind. Within 2 weeks, I was referred down to the ALS clinic in Temple. Dr. Terry Hyman Patterson and her multidisciplinary team brought my husband and I in there and sat us down and told us that they couldn't 100% certainly say I have ALS, but they were 99.9% sure I had ALS. You want to talk about your world falling out from underneath you. The first thing you think of is Steve Jobs, or you think of the worst case scenario. I didn't know about slow progression, longer progression, bulbar. I didn't know anything about that. The team educated me as best as they can, and they're wonderful. They have orthopedics, speech, physical therapy. Dr. Terry comes in. They have social workers that come in. They have mental health that come in. So when you go into that team environment, it's really amazing because there's this group of people that just surround you and says, we're here for you, we will not let you fall. So after Chaz and I got the diagnosis, of course it was a very long ride home. How do you deal with this? I was just given a death sentence. Only 50% of ALS patients will live longer than 2 to 5 years. That's it. Some people go a little faster, some go a little longer. After some testing, it looked like I was more of a slow progressor. So then we had to sit down and tell our children, okay? Because with ALS, only 10% of ALS patients get it genetically. 90% of ALS patients, they have no idea how we get it. It could be environmental, it could be brain injury or traumatic brain injuries. As you know, some NFL players have gotten it. They have no idea how us 90% get it, okay? So before we told our children, I decided to offer the genetic testing. And boy, was that the longest 6 weeks of my life waiting for that testing to come back. Because I have 2 daughters. How was I going to tell them there's a chance that I just gave them a death sentence? Fortunately for me, I'm not genetic. I do not have the genetic disease. I have the 90% have no idea how I got it. So it took us a little bit, told our family, and then we decided to go public with our friends. We did a Facebook post in August of 2022. Now it's kind of funny, and this is what began my journey of education and raising awareness. The responses that we got were all over the place. We had some that were sympathetic and what can you do? Or what can we do to help you? We had some asking questions, is it contagious? Is it a lifestyle? You know, did you do stuff and, you know, in your younger days that's making you come out? Side note, I wasn't an angel when I was younger, so believe me, it did make me kind of question it. But that's when I really knew that there was no information out there about ALS patients. They know about Lou Gehrig's disease, but they don't know what all it encompasses. And at that time, Chaz and I made a decision that a lot of ALS patients, when they get this diagnosis, they close in. They don't want to do anything. First of all, they don't want to accept it. They're in denial. And then when they do start to accept it, they don't want anybody else to know. They feel like they're going to be a burden on their families, everything else, which ultimately we all will be at some point in time. But they shut down and close down. They go to their doctor's appointments and then they go back home. I, on the other hand, got mad. Why do we not know about this? Why is more information not out there? So Chaz and I and my family have decided that we're going to raise awareness. Now, I thought I was just going to go on Facebook and kind of throw some facts out to people and debunk some theories that are out there about ALS. But the more I started diving into it, the more I started realizing that it's not just the general public that's not educated enough. It is also the medical community. It is, if I go into an emergency room right now, doctors are taught about ALS in the residencies. And unless they go on to specialize in it, kind of put it to the back of their head, because remember, there's only 30,000 of us in the entire United States. They don't come across us that frequently. So they don't have the training for emergency situations. So I'm like, well, wait. If the hospitals don't know how to deal with this, what happens with fire departments, police departments, EMTs, 911 dispatchers? Are they educated enough? And as I started diving into that more and more, I found out that they didn't know. I'm going to tell you a quick story that I heard, and this is really what made me get very involved. A patient with ALS who was fully functional like I am, slow progressing. He was with his wife. He stepped off a curb and tripped and fell and hit his head. He was conscious, he was breathing, and his wife was right by his side. The EMT showed up and proceeded to put an oxygen mask on the ALS patient. So for those of you that don't know what happens with ALS patients, the nerves in our body slowly die. And when the nerves die, the muscles start to atrophy. So eventually, we lose our ability to move our arms, our legs, our voice, and ultimately our ability to breathe, because your diaphragm is a muscle. The importance of what I'm telling you about now with the oxygen is that ALS patients cannot take highly saturated oxygen because we cannot absorb or get it out of our system. We basically drown in oxygen. Now there is an alternative. We can have oxygen through the nose and lower saturated oxygen, okay? So the guy's on the ground, EMTs are there, the wife is screaming at him to take the mask off. The wife is screaming. The EMT's like, we're following protocol for a head injury. She's like, he has ALS, this oxygen is going to kill him. Guess what? They would not divert from their protocol nor the protocol that they got from the hospital. In 4 minutes, with highly saturated oxygen, he was dead. He didn't die from ALS. He didn't die from the head injury. He died from emergency personnel not being trained properly in how to deal with ALS patients. So I heard this story and I got angry. I'm not fighting every day to stay alive for my family, to die because someone in an emergency response doesn't know how to deal with me. So I have become very vocal in the community. I have joined the Patient Advisory Board with the ALS Hope Foundation so that I can help them with some of the things they're doing as a patient side. I am very fortunate to be standing here and speaking and moving my arms, but there's a friend of mine who was diagnosed only 1 year before me, and she's fully immobile. She's on a breathing mechanism, and she can't speak the way that I can. She can't get out in front of the communities and speak. So I carry the baton for every ALS patient out there. I'm willing to stand and fight for us all. I actually carry 2 names in my pocket of people who have passed that shouldn't have died, and they only died because of uneducated emergency response people dealing with them and not listening to the family members who live with us with ALS every day and know what can and cannot be done with us. So in conjunction with the ALS Hope Foundation, I am launching a program called Wendy's Wish 911. And it is a program that I did a soft launch with Upper Gwinnett Police Department in September. And it's a way to come together as a community to get input from them, and also me to get input on the do's and don'ts with ALS patients. That soft launch went so well that the attention that we got from him has been overwhelming. We are going to do our hard launch on December 12th at Arbor Square in Harleysville. My end goal is to have a packet for every ALS patient available to them that will have a sticker on their car. It's called the Yellow Dot Program. It alerts law enforcement. Staties know it, and even local law enforcement know if there's a yellow dot on their lower rear back window. It makes them go look in their driver or in their glove box and he immediately tells them they have ALS. Don't lay them flat, because if you were to lay me flat, I can't speak. When I lay flat, gravity squishes all my muscles, and I can't talk and I can't breathe. Don't give me saturated oxygen. Do not put me under general anesthesia, because once you relax all my muscles, what's going to happen? So the program so far, like I said, has gotten a lot of attention. We're going to do a hard launch, but I really want to thank you all for listening, and we're launching a website and a Facebook page and an Instagram page, because this disease has been around for 150 years, and the needle for curing this disease has not moved. And we have to change that. We're only 30,000. There's only 300, I believe, in the Philadelphia area. And our lives matter too. And it is my journey and my pleasure to work with the ALS Hope Foundation to educate and just to get the word out and to get the medical community to do better. And I think if we can all learn and really put some effort into this, we can make a difference. And understand this, no one in my family has ever had ALS. I am the one and only. There has been an uptick in ALS patients recently. I won't tell you why. I guess you can figure out. I'll just refer to 2020. But it's happening. And it's happening more. And it can happen to someone that you know or love. One of my friends called me just because I put my video out there. And she said, Wendy, my brother was just diagnosed with ALS. Where do I go? How do I start? The fact that someone got that news and had no idea where to go, where to start, that's what I'm trying to eradicate. So again, Jen, I thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak about these programs. And anyone listening, I encourage you, please reach out to me at the ALS Hope Foundation. Our website will be going hard by December 12th. We will be taking donations because I would like every ALS patient to have the information that I have that would make emergency situations safer and life-saving for the patients with ALS, because they'll be trained better, they'll have different protocols for us, and I'm not dying because of someone's ignorance or lack of knowledge. Nobody should. So again, I thank you for allowing me to come out and talk. Jamie, Brittany, my husband Chaz, I could not get through this without my family. And for every ALS patient or caregiver that's listening, I got you. We're fighting, and I'm not stopping. I'm going out with my hair on fire. Come join me on my journey. Thank you so much.
If anybody online has any questions for Wendy or for Jamie, you can throw them up now. I have some questions.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, take a sip of water. Wendy, what is it like for you? A day, like waking up in the morning and having this on your shoulders, and what's it like?
So I'm going to be brutally honest.
Okay.
I do what's called the 10-second check. I have to wake up every single day and move each part of my body to wonder if today is the day I'm going to lose the use of my arms. It is a stressful, as soon as my eyes open up, that's the body check. Before I'm able to get out of bed, I have to touch my toes to the ground to make sure I can stand. It's very difficult because it's hard because I'm a slow progressor. So I've had a lot of people say, are you sure you're diagnosed correctly? Because you don't look sick. I've lost 55 pounds. When the muscles go and it's tough. I have lost dexterity in my hands. I can't open a water bottle. It's hard to brush my teeth. My handwriting has gotten sloppier. But the hardest thing about having this diagnosis is you got a death sentence. And then someone said to me, and this is how I turned it around to a positive. They said, how do you get up every day knowing that you're dying? And for a little bit, it really weighed on me because it does hit you. You know, you do have to plan for down the road and everything else. And I turned to them and I said, we all have a death sentence. I just happen to know mine's coming. What I have changed is I live my life every day like it is my last day. So many of us go out every day and you could be run over by a car and crossing the street. You know, it's a blessing and a curse. I know mine is coming, but it's about making the best of what you have. And I participate in a lot of clinical trials. I tell them I'm their lab rat. I've gotten multiple lumbar punctures because ALS lives in your spine. I get 16 vials of blood taken every time I go to the clinic. My heart's, checked all the time. I'm on trial meds. It's tough. They test my muscles to see how that, if they start to decrease. Lung function tests are also very big because that's an indicator of progression of ALS. But the hardest thing is waking up every day knowing that you have it and not letting it kill you, your mental state before your body gives out. That is the biggest challenge I face. But I refuse to give up.
Can you tell everybody, you were talking about it earlier, can you tell everybody about what happened with your job?
Oh, sure. I was selling real estate. I was doing pretty good at it. The moment I got the diagnosis, it was a decision with me and my company that it wasn't best for me to be out on my own, showing empty house, opening up empty houses if anything were to happen. So I've had to retire. Thankfully, my husband and I own a company, so now we get to work together every day. But I'm able to work from home, so I am able to do that. But it also affords me the time to be able to work on Wendy's Wish, and I also became a research ambassador. So I've done 2 studies now. One is a brain-eye thing. It's a motor, I forgot exactly how, but I basically got a tablet, and it's for function, like how quick I can hit the stars, or zoom in, zoom out. They're trying to develop technology for patients that are completely wheelchair bound, that can't move their arms, that can only move their eyes. I'm in the process of doing my last study or the last phase of the study on the 23rd, where they actually put monitors on my head and this big, nice little thing on the top of my head. It makes me mimic moving my hands, imagining it and actually doing it. So that software is being developed for artificial limbs that may help ALS patients have some movements down the road.
When you sat down with your family, your children, your daughters, how old are your daughters?
Taylor's 21 and Brown is 31 and my son is 32.
And do you have any grandchildren?
I do. He's 11 years old.
Okay. You said that was hard.
Very.
Really hard, and tested your resolve, tested what they didn't understand anything about it.
No, they did not.
Your family is very supportive and traveling this road with you.
Yes, I am very, very lucky. My son lives a little farther away, but he did live with us for a year when I first got the diagnosis because he wanted to be around. My oldest daughter, middle child, she's the one that has my grandson. We kind of kept him insulated for a little bit because he's only 11. He just turned 11 in March. So it wasn't something that I was ready to hit him with yet because Gigi's so cool and everything else. So we knew we had some time with him. my youngest daughter, Taylor, has basically redone the 3rd floor, and I don't think she's going anywhere. She's with me on the daily. She knows everything. She's the first one to help me, if I can't button my shirt or open a water bottle. Have they accepted it? I don't think fully, because I don't think I've fully accepted it yet. But they help me in the fight, and they go and do the ALS sponsored walks with me, and they go out and educate people, and so far so good. But we're a close-knit family, and we're getting through it.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being
you
here
so
tonight
much.
and for educating us and everybody online who got to learn more about this horrible disease. Just remember that Giving Tuesday is coming. And we are sending out information about Giving Tuesday, and other nonprofits and deserving individuals who can use our help within the community. Wendy's Wish 911 is one of those. So I hope that you'll consider that as Giving Tuesday comes upon us, and remember Wendy's Wish, the other ALS, Wendy's Wish 911, the other ALS patients who are suffering, and the North Wales Library. We hope to bring more programming to you through Wendy and through the ALS Hope Foundation, because we will partner with them and continue to try to build those bridges and relationships in understanding. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you all.